Found a camera in the mirror. Thought it was a joke. Then found another one in the night light. Mother-in-law said, I wanted to know how you two lived together. Now I can't sleep peacefully. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am at 3 a.m., wide awake and questioning everything I thought I knew about privacy and family boundaries. 3 days ago, my world got turned completely upside down in the most disturbing way possible. My husband and I have been living in his childhood home for about 8 months now. We're both in our mid-20s, trying to save up for our own place while helping out with his mom who's been struggling since his dad passed away 2 years ago. It seemed like the perfect arrangement. We could contribute to household expenses, she wouldn't be alone, and we could actually put some money aside for once. The house is this old 2-story colonial that's been in his family for decades. Our bedroom is upstairs, the same room my husband grew up in. His mom insisted we take it since it's the biggest bedroom, and she moved into the smaller guest room downstairs after we arrived. I thought it was incredibly generous of her, especially since she could have easily kept the master bedroom for herself. Everything seemed normal for months. Sure, she was a bit involved in our daily routine. She'd comment on what time we went to bed, ask detailed questions about our weekend plans, and sometimes I'd catch her lingering outside our door when we were talking. But I chalked it up to loneliness and adjustment. Losing a spouse and then having newlyweds move in must be overwhelming. Last Tuesday started like any other day. I was getting ready for work, standing in front of the antique mirror that sits on the dresser. It's this beautiful ornate thing that belonged to my husband's grandmother. As I was applying mascara, something caught my eye. A tiny reflection that didn't belong. At first, I thought it was just a flaw in the old glass, but when I looked closer, I realized it was perfectly round and seemed to have depth to it. My heart started racing as I examined the mirror more carefully. Hidden behind the decorative metal scrollwork at the bottom corner was a small device, no bigger than a button. It was positioned perfectly to capture everything happening in front of the mirror, which included most of our bed. I stood there frozen for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. My mind was racing through possibilities. Maybe it was some kind of old family heirloom? Maybe my husband knew about it? But deep down I already knew what it was. That evening I couldn't focus on anything. I kept glancing at the mirror, feeling sick to my stomach. When my husband got home, I didn't know how to bring it up. How do you tell someone that you think their family home might be bugged? I decided to wait until I could investigate more. The next morning, after both my husband and his mom left for work, I searched the room methodically. I felt like I was going crazy looking for tiny cameras in every corner, every decoration, every piece of furniture. That's when I found the second one. Our bedside lamp, this innocent-looking thing with a fabric shade and ceramic base, had a small device embedded in its base. This one was even more sophisticated than the mirror camera. It was angled to capture the bed from a different perspective. I sat on the floor next to that lamp and cried. Not just a few tears, but the kind of ugly sobbing that comes from feeling completely violated. Someone had been watching us. Watching our most private moments. Our conversations, our intimacy, everything. I called in sick to work and spent the day trying to figure out what to do. Should I confront my husband first? Should I call the police? I felt completely alone and paranoid. Every time I heard a car in the driveway, I panicked. When my husband came home that evening, I showed him what I'd found. He went pale and just stared at the devices for a long time without saying anything. Then he got angry. Really angry. Not at me but at the situation. He couldn't believe someone would violate our privacy like this. We decided to confront his mom together when she got home. I was terrified. What if she denied it? What if there was some explanation I hadn't considered? What if this destroyed their relationship forever? She walked in around 6:30, humming some old song and carrying groceries. She seemed so normal, so innocent. My husband asked her to sit down because we needed to talk. I watched her face carefully as he showed her the cameras. She didn't deny it. She didn't even seem surprised that we'd found them. She just sighed and said she'd been wondering when we'd notice. Then she said something that will haunt me forever. She wanted to know how we lived together as a couple. She was curious about our relationship dynamic, our daily routines, our level of intimacy. She explained it like she was discussing the weather. She'd ordered the cameras online about 6 months ago, shortly after we moved in. She installed them while we were at work, and she'd been checking the footage regularly on her tablet. She knew our schedules, our habits, our private conversations. She knew things about our relationship that even our closest friends didn't know. The worst part was how she justified it. She said she was protecting her son, making sure I was treating him well. She said she wanted to understand modern relationships since hers had been so different. She said she was just being a concerned mother. I felt sick. Physically sick. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. When I came back, my husband was still sitting there in shock. His mom was actually crying, not because she felt guilty, but because she was afraid we were going to move out. That night, we slept in the living room. I couldn't bear the thought of being in that bedroom knowing what had happened there. Every private moment we'd shared, every vulnerable conversation, every intimate moment, she'd seen it all. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since we discovered the cameras, and I'm still processing everything that's happened. I wanted to update you all because your support meant everything to me during those first horrible days. We moved out immediately. My husband was incredible through all of this. He was just as violated and angry as I was, and he didn't hesitate to pack our things that very night. We're currently staying with my sister while we figure out our next steps. The hardest part has been dealing with the aftermath. It's not just about the cameras themselves but about what they represent. The complete breakdown of trust, the violation of our most intimate moments, and the realization that someone we thought we could trust had been deceiving us for months. My husband has been struggling with guilt, feeling like he should have known, should have protected me better. I keep reassuring him that neither of us could have predicted something like this. Who suspects their own family member of installing surveillance equipment in their bedroom? We decided not to involve the police initially. My husband wanted to handle it within the family first, hoping his mom would understand the severity of what she'd done. We were naive to think she'd respond with genuine remorse. Instead, she's been calling and texting constantly, alternating between apologies and justifications. One day she'll send tearful messages about how sorry she is, and how she just wanted to help. The next day she'll send angry texts about how we're overreacting and how she was just being a protective mother. The most disturbing messages are the ones where she references specific things she saw through the cameras. She'll mention conversations we had, things we did, details about our daily routine that she should never have known about. It's like she's trying to prove that her surveillance was somehow beneficial or necessary. Last week, she showed up at my sister's house unannounced. I was home alone, and when I saw her through the window I had a panic attack. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think straight. My sister came home to find me hiding in the bathroom, shaking and crying. That's when we realized this wasn't just going to go away on its own. The emotional impact has been much worse than I initially expected. I can't sleep properly anymore. I'm constantly looking over my shoulder, checking rooms for hidden cameras, feeling like I'm being watched even when I know I'm not. My relationship with my husband has been strained too, though not in the way you might expect. We're closer in some ways because we went through this trauma together, but I find myself questioning everything about his family now. What other boundaries have been crossed that we don't know about? What other violations of privacy have there been over the years? We've started looking at apartments, but the housing market is brutal right now. Everything decent is either too expensive or too far from our jobs. The financial stress on top of the emotional trauma has been overwhelming. The most frustrating part is how his mom has been portraying herself as the victim to other family members. She's told his aunts and uncles that we're being unreasonable, and that she was just trying to help. Some of them have actually sided with her, saying that we should be grateful she cares so much and that we're overreacting to a harmless mistake. A harmless mistake. That's what his uncle called it. Installing hidden cameras in someone's bedroom, and watching them for months is apparently just a harmless mistake. My husband has been defending us, but it's caused a rift in his extended family. Some relatives have stopped talking to him entirely. Others keep trying to mediate, suggesting we all just sit down and work it out like adults. They don't understand that there's no working out a violation this severe. I've been having nightmares about being watched, about cameras hidden in places I can't find. I check every room I enter now, looking for small devices or suspicious objects. My sister has been incredibly patient, but I know this situation is affecting her too. We found a small apartment that we can barely afford, and we're supposed to move in next month. It's not ideal, but it's ours, and more importantly, it's somewhere we can have actual privacy. My husband asked me if I wanted him to cut contact with his mom completely. Part of me wants to say yes, but I know that's not fair to him. She's still his mother, despite what she did. But I also know I can't have a relationship with someone who violated us so deeply and shows no real understanding of why it was wrong. Update 2. I'm writing this update from our new apartment. We moved in 3 weeks ago, and it's been a mixture of relief and continued stress. I wanted to share what's happened since my last update, because the situation has taken some unexpected turns. First, the good news. Having our own space has been healing in ways I didn't expect. It's a small one-bedroom apartment, nothing fancy, but it's ours. No hidden cameras, no unexpected visitors, no feeling like we're being watched. The first night we slept here, I cried with relief. I hadn't realized how much the constant anxiety had been affecting me until it was gone. My husband has been amazing through all of this. He's been patient with my paranoia, understanding when I need to check rooms for cameras, and supportive when I have moments of panic. We've grown closer in many ways, united by this shared trauma, and the process of rebuilding our sense of security together. But the situation with his family has gotten more complicated. About a week after we moved, his mom showed up at our old workplace looking for us. She'd somehow found out where I work and came in asking to speak with me. Security had to escort her out after she became agitated when told I wasn't available. That same day, she went to my husband's job and caused a scene in the parking lot. She was crying and demanding that he come home and work things out. His co-workers saw the whole thing and he was mortified. His supervisor had to have a conversation with him about keeping personal drama away from work. The family dynamics have become increasingly toxic. His mom has been telling everyone who will listen her version of events, painting herself as a heartbroken mother who was just trying to protect her son from a manipulative daughter-in-law. She's even implied that I somehow planted the cameras myself to frame her, which is so absurd it would be laughable if it weren't so hurtful. Some family members have started reaching out to us directly, but not in the way you'd hope. His aunt called last week to tell me that I was destroying the family, and that I should be more understanding of a grieving widow. His cousin sent a long text message explaining that I was being too sensitive, and that family members sometimes cross boundaries out of love. The most disturbing development came 2 weeks ago, when we discovered that his mom had been driving by our apartment building. Our neighbor mentioned seeing the same car parked across the street multiple times, always with an older woman inside who seemed to be watching the building. When she described the car and the woman, we realized it was his mom. We called her and confronted her about it. She didn't deny it but said she just wanted to make sure we were okay, and that she missed us. She promised to stop, but we saw the car again just 3 days later. That's when we realized we might need to take legal action. Filing for a restraining order felt like such a drastic step, but her behavior was escalating rather than improving. The legal process has been stressful and expensive, but we felt we had no choice. The court granted a temporary order, and we have a hearing scheduled for next month. Since the restraining order was served, things have gotten worse before they got better. She's been contacting us through other family members, sending messages through his cousins and aunts. She's created fake social media accounts to try to follow us online. She even had flowers delivered to our apartment with a note saying she forgives us and wants us to come home. The psychological impact has been harder to deal with than I expected. I thought moving out would solve everything, but the ongoing harassment has kept me in a constant state of anxiety. I jump when the phone rings. I check over my shoulder when I'm walking to my car. I've developed this habit of checking every room when I come home, even though I know logically that she doesn't have access to our apartment. My husband has been struggling too, though he tries to hide it. He's dealing with the guilt of having to take legal action against his own mother, plus the stress of being estranged from most of his extended family. Some relatives have taken sides, and family gatherings have become impossible. Work has been a refuge for both of us, but even there we're dealing with consequences. His mom contacted his boss directly, trying to get him in trouble by claiming he was stealing from her or some other nonsense. Nothing came of it because it was obviously false, but it was embarrassing and stressful. We've had to change our routines, take different routes to work, and be careful about what we post online. It feels like we're the ones being punished for discovering her violation of our privacy. There are days when I wonder if we should have just stayed quiet and found a way to live with it. But then I remember what it felt like to know that someone had been watching our most private moments for months. I remember the violation, the betrayal, the complete loss of security in what should have been our safe space. And I know we made the right choice even though it's been difficult. The financial stress has been significant too. Moving unexpectedly, legal fees, and now paying rent instead of just contributing to household expenses has stretched our budget thin. We've had to give up some things we enjoyed, and saving for a house feels impossible now. Despite everything, there have been some positive developments. My family has been incredibly supportive. My sister let us stay with her without complaint, and my parents have helped us financially when we needed it. My husband's few remaining allies in his family have been understanding and supportive too. We've also discovered a strength in our relationship that we didn't know we had. Going through something this traumatic together has shown us that we can handle difficult situations as a team. We communicate more openly now, and we don't take our privacy and security for granted anymore. The apartment is starting to feel like home. We've decorated it with things that make us happy, and we've established new routines that feel safe and normal. Some evenings we'll just sit together appreciating the fact that we can have a private conversation without worrying about who might be listening. Final update. It's been 4 months since we discovered the cameras, and I wanted to provide one final update on how everything has played out. This has been the most challenging period of my life, but I'm finally starting to feel like we're moving forward, rather than just surviving day to day. The restraining order hearing went better than expected. The judge was clearly disturbed by the evidence we presented, including the cameras themselves, screenshots of the harassing messages, and testimony from neighbors who had seen his mom surveilling our apartment building. The temporary order was made permanent, and she's legally required to stay away from us, our workplace, and our home. Since the permanent order was put in place, the direct harassment has stopped. No more surprise visits, no more phone calls, no more fake social media accounts. The silence has been both a relief and strangely unsettling. After months of constant contact, the absence of communication feels significant. However, the family situation remains complicated. The extended family has essentially split into 2 camps: those who think we overreacted and those who understand why we took legal action. Family gatherings have become impossible, and my husband has had to accept that some relationships may never recover. His mom has apparently been telling people that we had her arrested, which isn't true, but it's become part of her narrative. She's positioned herself as the victim of cruel children who abandoned their grieving mother. Some relatives have bought into this version of events completely. The most unexpected development has been hearing from other family members who experienced similar boundary violations over the years. My husband's cousin reached out privately to tell us that his mom had gone through their belongings when they stayed at the house, reading personal letters and even going through their phone when they left it unattended. Another relative mentioned that she had always felt like his mom knew too much about their private conversations and personal business. These revelations have been both validating and disturbing. It's clear that what happened to us wasn't an isolated incident of poor judgment, but part of a pattern of invasive behavior that had been normalized within the family for years. Other people had learned to just accept it as part of her personality, but no one had ever called it out or set firm boundaries. My husband has been processing a lot of guilt and confusion about his childhood and family dynamics. He's been remembering incidents that seemed normal at the time but now appear problematic in hindsight. The lack of privacy, the constant questions, the way she always seemed to know things she shouldn't have known. Financially, we've stabilized somewhat. The legal fees were significant, and the unexpected move was expensive, but we've adjusted our budget and found our rhythm. We're not saving as much as we'd hoped, but we're managing our expenses and slowly building back our emergency fund. The psychological healing has been slower but steady. I still occasionally have moments of paranoia, checking rooms for cameras or feeling watched when I'm alone. But these episodes are becoming less frequent and less intense. Having a space that's truly ours has been therapeutic in ways I didn't anticipate. Our relationship has evolved through this experience. We're more protective of our privacy now, more selective about who we trust with personal information, and more appreciative of our independence. We've also become better at supporting each other through difficult situations and communicating about uncomfortable topics. The most profound change has been in how we view family relationships and boundaries. We used to think that family meant accepting behavior that we wouldn't tolerate from others. Now we understand that family relationships still require respect, trust, and appropriate boundaries to be healthy. We've started talking about what we want our own family to look like someday. How we'll handle privacy with our children, how we'll respect their autonomy as they grow up, and how we'll maintain healthy relationships with extended family without compromising our values or safety. There are still difficult days. Holidays are particularly challenging since we're not welcome at family gatherings. Special occasions sometimes bring waves of sadness about the relationships that have been damaged or lost. My husband sometimes struggles with guilt about the legal action we took, wondering if there was another way to handle the situation. But overall, we're in a much better place than we were 4 months ago. We have our own space, our privacy, and our security. We've learned that we can handle crisis situations together and come out stronger on the other side. We've discovered who our real support system is and which relationships are worth maintaining. The cameras are gone, the harassment has stopped, and we're building a life that feels genuinely our own. We're not the same people we were before this happened, but in many ways we're stronger and more self-aware than we were before. I'm sharing this final update not just to close the loop on our story, but to encourage anyone dealing with similar boundary violations to trust their instincts and take action to protect themselves. What happened to us was not normal, not acceptable, and not something we should have had to tolerate in the name of family harmony. Privacy is a fundamental right, not a privilege that can be revoked by family members who think they know what's best for you. Boundaries are not suggestions that can be ignored when someone decides they don't apply to them. And sometimes, protecting yourself requires making difficult decisions that other people won't understand or support. We're moving forward with clear boundaries, strong communication, and a renewed appreciation for the simple pleasure of having private conversations in our own home. It's been a difficult journey, but we're finally sleeping peacefully again.